Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your Paranormal Portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Elementary, my dear gatekeepers. Enjoy the journey. Nature is your refuge. Learn from nature. Absolutely learn from nature. So there you go. It's elementary. Is it not? What does it mean to be a great detective? Like Sherlock Holmes or so many of you when you're going in and paranormal investigating. And the greatest mystery I found out since I started this little psychic crime scene investigation, how well do they both work together in the paranormal world? Or sometimes the paranormal world meets the living world. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But what does it mean to be a detective? We're going to talk about that. Hello. The greatest mystery I've found since I started this is how in the world did they wear these wool hats? These are so uncomfortable. They're not extremely attractive. I don't know. I guess the sun off the back of your neck, the rain off the back of your neck. I don't know this whole, thing going on. But the wool is itchy. Hello. Sherlock Cisco. Well, that's it. Don't you feel like a detective nowadays in your everyday life? Right? Let me take this off because I'm telling you what, this is just terrible. So, and you get to see my ombre hair. Look how much it's grown. Hold on. Excuse me. Wow. Look how much. Look. It's like ombre. It's crazy. All right. Sorry, that was probably very loud. I apologize. So, it's hot. So anyway, in your everyday life, don't you have to sort things all the time? Sure you do. And you sort that through the data that you've collected through your life. It all depends on what kind of life you've led and what you've seen and what you've had to work through. Of course, people that get in there and get their hands dirty more learn quicker lessons, right? But you run it through your filters, your data, your ability, your common sense, your moral compass in some cases, right? What you've learned from making bad decisions. That's what it's all about, right? If they talk about this being school, that's what we're all kind of doing. Life being school. Are we here to learn? Are we? Well, we certainly are here to discern whether you're in heavy traffic and you're trying to decide just by the facts and information that you have before you through your senses, right? And what you've gone through in your life, you're figuring, that car back there that's acting like a jerk is going to cause an accident. You've watched him in your rear view. Maybe you've passed him a couple of times. You've seen him before. Well, you're making a deduction based on your knowledge. And your knowledge is only going to go as far as your senses, your ability, and your past experience, right? Your common sense was common to you. Common sense is kind of overused now, isn't it? Because I'm not seeing a lot of it. How about you guys? Does it seem like it's an endangered species? Common sense, right? Because you're going, did I just see that? Is that for real? Did that pharmaceutical company just say that? Did this person who's running for whatever, did they just come out and get all their money from this corporation? Wait a minute. What does that tell me? I'm going to I'm going to break that down and go, hey, that tells me a lot about that person, right? Simple deduction, simple reasoning, common sense. Yet they treat you like you should be thinking otherwise. You know, they've gotten you used to, and again, this all has to do with being a good detective. And what does it mean to be a detective? And then we'll get into the rest of it. But think about this now. I'm serious. I've thought about this for a couple of days. So no matter where you are in the world, this week, I'm going to tell you what, by Thursday or Friday, I had psyop whiplash. How about you? I mean, it was like banga, 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 banga. What? Are you kidding me? Wait a minute. What? What over there? Are you? No. Come on. Really? And depending on what you're seeing, what your window into life looks like, are you listening to the radio on the way to work, in the truck? Are you listening to, what's going on over the airwaves? If you're a trucker, what's going on? What are you talking about over the CB and at the diner? Am I right? The truck stops. I mean, if you're at work, what are they talking about at the office? What are you seeing in the paper? What are you seeing on your phone, on your Googles, on the inner tubes? What's coming up on your inner tubes? What are you listening to? What are you looking for? What are you digging into? Do you have wildfires? Holy mackerel. Are you near maybe a beautiful river called Yellowstone and a bridge just collapsed? Another train? What? Maybe it's, hold on, maybe it's what do you call those things? Live under the bridge. Oh, gatekeepers, help me. Trolls, right? It could be trolls. Have we angered the trolls? And just every time a train comes by that has a lot of toxic nastiness on it, it chooses then to collapse, and those tanks just happen to go into the river and fish float to the top of the thing. It's just it's a Monday. It's a Monday. Am I right? Critical thinking is an endangered species. Absolutely. And as well as common sense. They're probably dying together, rotting somewhere in the back of an old, I was sitting there at the bed in my mind, an old trunk. I just saw this like old, gangsta mobile or something sinking into a lake, probably with Layla playing in the background, all my movies, mixing together. But anyway, let's have a good time tonight because, like I said, I've got psyop whiplash, and the poor dog that they're wagging from both ends is absolutely phenomenal. Hey, Laura. Hey, Vixen Doe. Hey, Glenn. Are you guys tracking me? Hello, Daniel. Hello, Kathleen. I saw Salvador in here. Welcome, Jack. Welcome. Did I see Glenn? I saw Enda. Welcome, welcome. Straw Dog. Hey, baby. How you doing? Who else? I think I said hi to Jack. Hello, sweetie. How you doing? Dr. Watson and Cisco Holmes. Yeah, you see so many wonderful people here, and if I start reading the chat, I'm going to get way off base. And I want us to talk about this tonight because this is something else. This is like exercise. We're going to do some mind push-ups tonight. But at the same time, hey, Paradox, and I think I saw Frozen here. Hello, darling. AJK, everybody, if I missed you, hello. Welcome to the wonderful mods. Please be courteous to my wonderful mods because these mods are absolutely, they just, look, they take no prisoners. D-Rock, hey, Sugar. And they take no prisoners. They don't put up with any BS. They're loving and kind and will guide you through. But, man, if you listen, this is old school up in this, you're going to, the next sound you hear is probably going to be a wooden spoon coming through the air. And you know what they do with those wooden spoons? What do we do with the wooden spoons? All my mods have all the cooking utensils they need, and they will bake you up a batch of these so quick. A couple dozen, right? You're not getting any sprinkles, but you can have all you can eat, and you'll have to move on because this is a chill chat. And we're trying to sort things, not only in our everyday lives and what's on the news and what's in the paper and what's coming up on our bings and across the twatters and the Instagrams and all that stuff. Facebook, oh my God, if you're still there. I'm there, but I just inundate it with, I'm just fight back with cat pictures and dog pictures and stuff that I make, and ice cream, no sprinkles. That's it, man. Not no sprinkles up in here. Just we're right past, you know, sprinkles. We take our cupcakes just, to the point. That's crazy, right? My God. You got to laugh. You got to put this stuff in perspective. We said it last week. 40,000-foot view. Everybody was listening to, we were so busy at work. I don't know about you guys, but busy week, and you're just trying to get through your day. And all of a sudden you're down in the office, or you're getting your ham and cheese out of the vending machine. You're finally getting that big time lunch they're so gracious to give you. Hey, Kathleen, if I didn't say hi, I'm sorry. Whatever your day may look like, it could be hot coffee out of a Stanley thermos and whatever was left over from last night. Doesn't matter. Point is your world looks like your world. Your window looks like your window. And your window into the world is going to be similar, but not exactly the same as everybody. And what affects you is going to be similar, but not exactly what affects everybody. If you don't have children in school, you're just appalled at what you're seeing, more than likely. If you do have them, or have grandchildren, or someone you love, you're a whole nother thing, and then some, right? I know, guys. I know it's crazy. They laughed at us 25, 30 years ago when we said this was coming. Everybody said we were crazy. Everybody said we were nuts. They said, no way. Is this happening right now, or did that happen? Or listen, this goes so far back. This is the stuff our great-great-grandfathers probably called each other crazy over. That's no exaggeration. That's the ones that weren't too busy working on the farm, 18 hours a day and trying to feed 5 kids and try to keep half of them alive. Let's face facts. Whatever was going on, you get busy with wars and just trying to live through the day, and you don't have time to pay attention. So these flashes of news and these flashes of headlines, and now you've got social media and everything else. And listen, if your filters are, if they're all gunked up, clean those bitches out. Because just like a drain, in the bathtub or whatever, you get those hair clogs. It's been a heavy couple of years. Just clean all that out. Revamp. Get you some nature. Watch some animals. Listen, there's a lot to be learned from animals. That's why I use them. Not only does it instantly connect you with the music and make you feel better and lift your vibration, as we've multiple talked about, there's a lot about nature that can, is teaching us. They're adapting and overcoming. We've put them through all kinds. We've killed some to the point of extinction just with our greed and our movements and our manifest destiny without so much as a buy or leave. These wildfires affect them too, as well as families. And then they say, come here, we'll help you, come this way. Before you know it, they got everybody corralled in a small spot. And you look back and you say, wow, is it me? Or does it seem like one company is buying up all the land? And once it goes, wait a minute, it gets, these little towns and these cities and the riots and the peaceful protesting that's burning down all the buildings and stuff over the past couple of years and all this other stuff devalues everything. Companies move out, business. And the real estate goes down. What? And somebody comes and buys it up. And then they do what they want with it. $1 million condos and other things. Did you ever think that you'd be living in a time where there would be vending machines in more than one city right now, as we speak, that are dispensing free drugs for any and all to have? For any and all to have. I just don't know. That's just an extremely responsible and generous of such a thoughtful group of people that have our best interest in mind. And it's just, I'm overwhelmed. I am so overwhelmed at the kindness and the thoughtfulness and the research and money and tax dollars. And I'm so pleased at my tax dollars. And listen, sometimes some paychecks are harder to come by than others. That's no lie. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean. Some of you out there got so many scars and bruises and knees that pop when you move, and women out there never even thought about having a handful of nails because they just got in the way of scrubbing whatever it was that needed scrubbing, fixing whatever needed fixing. Y'all know what I mean. Or you're in the hospitality, or you have to deal with with other people. It's just like, whew. It's a good thing that most hospitality people work for tips, because if we had to charge you what you make us feel that we need to charge, you couldn't afford it. Whether it's a bartender or a server or a customer service manager, or just name it. What I mean is everybody's window is different, and how you receive this is different. And people have a way when they click into survival mode, it's how does this affect me? How does this affect me right now? Hey, Melissa, welcome in, sweetie. Are you guys tracking me? Do you understand what I'm saying? They've kept you busy just trying to survive. And they told you what you had wasn't good enough. You needed all of this stuff. And they've done it in a way that almost makes you feel guilty, or they try to make you feel guilty or wrong, or call you whatever is they want to put at the end of it. What's going on, Laura? I must have missed it. Whatever it is, you have my love. You know that. And they've just distracted you and kept you busy just trying to survive. Like I said, it's like being in this constant high tide, and the current's getting a little crazy, and you're just trying to doggy paddle your way through this mess. And you're looking around and saying, does this affect me? Does this affect me right now? Is this something I have to look at the future? Is this something I have to secure down? Do I have to tie that down tighter? Do I have to hide that better? Do I have to move and make more of that, or go over here and do that? They've got you. Meanwhile, they're wagging the dog at both ends. Do you know what I mean by wagging the dog? I don't mean waggy tails. I mean wagging the dog. This is a known fact. If you think I'm wearing a tinfoil hat tonight, I promise you, if that's what it takes, I'll put that hat on, put the Sherlock hat back on, Well, don't do it then, Laura. Say no. At this point, I would say, if you don't want to do it, say no. I don't care if it's somebody always puts, a friend of mine told me this, and I just thought, what? Does not like lemon on their fish, and this person constantly did it. I said, but you ate it. He said, yeah, caused a problem. But every time you ate it, it irked you. Yeah. Say no. I'm not doing it. Little things, but they turn into big things because they make you feel degraded. They chip at you little by little by little. Don't let them do it. Turn your lights on. See it for what it is and move it through. Move it past it. Do I need to? Okay. I'm aware of that. Done. Oh, this is what they're telling me is happening now. Okay. You run around in a panic. Oh, but this one said this, and this news said that. And every single newscast that has been going on for the past 24 hours, or let's say 48, has been 100% wrong. Now, I don't know where you are and what you're getting, because if you're getting stuff in Other countries, I cannot speak for that. But what I've seen for the majority of all this, and I'm laughing through the whole thing going, what? What? I just feel so sorry for the dog because they're wagging it from both ends. And the dog in the middle is just going, blah, 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 blah. Wag the dirt dog is a term. Let's see if I can share my thing here. For those of you that do not know, I'm sorry for not being ready here. Bear with me. Now, I probably can't play this trailer. There we go. I cannot play the trailer. Let me go back a minute. Hold on. According to, and do you see what I got pulled up here? Do you guys see what that W stands for? I'm going to tell you something here, and I need you to pay attention to what I'm saying because I have to say it a certain way. And this isn't just something I'm just pulling out of, a shoebox in the closet. You know what I mean? This is for real shit. Guess who's behind this page? Guess who's behind the W? I know there's a delay, and I don't know if you guys really want to guess or if you just want to believe what I'm saying here. It's another letter. It's 3 letters. For the last one is an A. And the first one is in the word clown. No, Walmart. It's not a bad guess though. Yep, there you go, Jack. Jack's on it. That's exactly it. And many magazines, many production, movie, everything's got to be cleared. This is also a psyop. In so many ways. There are people that I know that have these pages that know that some of the stuff on it's false and try to go in and change it themselves, and they'll come back and go, no, you can't change it. They'll change it back, and they'll go, but I'm the guy, and they don't care. It's also so anyway. If you can't see this, it's wag the dog is a political term, the act of creating a diversion from damaging issue, usually through military force. Now, there's also a movie. Let me see if I can get the movie. Sorry, guys. I know I should have been more. Bear with me here. I had it a minute ago. And here is the movie. I'm not going to play it because they bit me on that Nefarious one. Did anybody watch Nefarious? It's fantastic. Here's the movie. It was put out in 1997. Now it's Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro, and I've had my fill of Robert De Niro for a lifetime, so I'm done there. I'm not going to get into why. Just be a detective, put your Sherlock hat on, go digging into that rabbit hole if you want to. I suggest you wear gloves. So, Dustin Hoffman. They're both a team. They all brought together because they're experts in this. And what they do is basically hire a bunch of actors, do a bunch of CGI, do a bunch of film and everything to convince people that there's really a war going on when there isn't one, just so that they can get the population to move in one direction. Wag the dog is different than a false flag for the most part, but they can be combined and in any order or concentration, if you catch my drift. Yep, wag the dog. So there's been a lot of dog wagging going on this week. Am I right? So much. So I suggest to give everything a 72-hour rule. Look at things and say, yeah, ton of no kidding, Vixen. Really, he is disgusting. All of these people control perception. Yes, and neuro linguistic manipulation. Here, I'll give you a what can I get away with saying on here? Here's an example, a recent one that really, really worked. Everywhere you everywhere you listen, every car radio station, every all of the different social medias and pop-ups here and there, and Instagram, Twitter, all of it. China balloon, China balloon, China balloon, China, China, China balloon, China balloon, China balloon, China balloon. About 3 days of that. You go down to get that sandwich at, for your long awaited lunch. And not only has it gone up from like 275 to like 675, and probably older than hell. And you get your little ham and cheese sandwich out of the vending machine, and you overhear everybody talking in the break room. China balloon, China balloon, China balloon, China balloon. What are they doing? Just shoot it down. Where's it at? What's it doing? What's it doing up there? Do you think I think it's us. I think it's them. I think it's both of us. And before you know it, everybody's talking about that. And you've got all of these really important bills and things going on behind the thing, or some really solid evidence of somebody's horrid, unthinkable crime actually being revealed. But everybody's talking about that. And they're also seeing at the same time that nobody's doing anything about it. And everybody's starting to wonder, well, why don't they just, a slingshot? Something? What's going on? Why are we paying attention? Meanwhile, there's people in towns that had their water messed up, and nobody's talking about that. Helicopters with these very untrained young individuals, brand new to uniform, are crashing because they don't have the practice. And given time and the right training, maybe they could be wonderful at their MOS, if you pick up my drift. But from what they've picked from in that area, in some cases, in a lot of cases, not only the training, but the differential in the substance is different. It's certainly not as of in the past. Not all of it. But if you notice, it's almost like there's two different. And of course, I'm only talking about here. I have no idea what's going on in other countries, except things that have happened in this very past couple of days here. If you think about it, and if you know anything that's going on in other places, it's very similar. It's almost like people are making maneuvers to see who's really on their side. It's kind of military whack-a-mole. See what I'm saying? It's like, let me pretend I'm weak to see who's gonna, and then go, I got your name now. Now you're irrelevant. Or now you're never going to be trusted again. Or whatever the case may be. I see that. I see a lot of backdoor stuff. I see a lot of that. So you could be a detective in a lot of different ways. And I know I spent a lot of time there, but I wanted to spend a little time on that because what they do is very effective, and it makes you very scared sometimes. And it's very easy via music, sound, visuals, frequencies, just the repetitiveness, the constant. It can get to you. Welcome in, Henry. It's just so repeated that you have to find ways to filter that out, to glean what you need. Do I need to know this? What's going on? I'll wait 72 hours on that. I don't need to decide I'm going to pay attention to this over here because this really affects my well-being or my family's well-being or my job or my country, my town, my school, whatever it may be. Your home, your safety. And you say, okay, we'll sort that. But I'm not going to believe what they're telling me. I'm going to look past that. Because in a lot of cases, now here's what's important. All this is important, but here's the bow on top of the whole package. The bow on top of the package is, in a lot of cases, their magic isn't working anymore. The spells aren't working anymore. They're not sticking as deep. They're not grounding as deep. They're not able to screw themselves in slowly day to day and make it stick to the point where you're scared and you can't think. So you do what they're telling you to do. I remember when anthrax was getting mailed. This was back in the 90s, early 90s, I think. I could be off on that. And I'm sitting there watching my local news parrot off of the other news sources. And they're actually telling people to go to Home Depot and Lowe's by name and buy plastic and duct tape. And duct tape up your windows and your doors. And keep your families inside. And I sat on the couch and I looked at my family and I said, man, did Home Depot and Lowe's start this so they could sell more duct tape and plastic? Never let a good crisis go to waste, people. That is their motto. Even if they have to cause the crisis just so they won't let it go to waste. And that's what's going on. I'm not sure, AJK. It might have been after 9/11. But if you look at it like that, that's Wag the dog. Doesn't have to be a war. It could be, look, we know about pirates. We know about our pirates here. We've studied pirate ships. We've studied pirates. We studied how they lived, how they died, how they loved, how they fought, how they cheated, how they... We know pirates, right? We even know a lady who married a dead 300-year-old pirate. And I don't know why you have to say dead with that, but it doesn't seem that people get it unless you add that word. Isn't that funny? I mean, does anybody else know any 300-year-old pirates running around here alive? It's like that old bowling joke. Hey, I bowled the other night. Oh, really? What was your score? 301. Oh, it's impossible. You can't get more than 300. Well, have you ever heard of anybody that bowled a 300 and lost? Ba-dum-bum. It's like that. Follow the money. Absolutely. And now it's just, they're just making it up. You know, they're just making it up. If anybody can't see what's going on now. What I see is a lot of really nasty, evil, rotten, pickle bastards that have power and money and control and evil and the celebration of evil. And their descent into a disgusting, unnameable lifestyle. And to have to come out and tell us what they're doing. Well, 30 years ago they did. How far back you want to go? Because they've been telling us. And here they are doing it. This is spiritual warfare. And everything on that side that's wagging the dog and trying to get you scared and telling you to go to Home Depot and buying plastic and duct tape and all this other shit, or creating something so they can create a cure, not a cure, excuse me, bad word, because they're certainly not curing anything. You know, create a pharmaceutical for it. And then a pharmaceutical to fix the side effects that pharmaceutical is going to cause, and so on and so on. And they tell two friends, and so on and so on, until you're on that train and you don't know how to get off. All of this is designed to confuse you so you can't be a detective, so you can't detect what they're really up to. Interesting, isn't it? Yep, you don't make money on cures. That's right, Daniel. So, luckily, we know that there's other cures and nature cures, and a lot of those cures are in nature. And a lot of the cures are in knowledge. Knowledge is power, right? Knowing what's really going on and then laughing at them because that makes them crazy. So I see what you're up to. Not buying into it. Next, I'm going to take care of my things. I'm going to get out of debt. I'm going to can food. I'm going to, whatever it is you're doing. Fix that truck. I'm going to go on with my life. I'm going to tighten up my stuff. Have situational awareness, and I'm going to keep my eye on this, but I'm going to wait before I let it get me all worked up. Because this week they've really tried to pluck every string on your heart. Yep. From catastrophes in the waters over the Titanic. They had all kinds of people talking about a lot of rich people who had more money than sense. Let's just say it. You got that kind of time on your hands to be doing some crazy mess. Or did they? You got a lot of theories and a lot of thoughts and a lot of back and forth and a lot of arguing and a lot of people throwing out theories and ideas for whatever reason. What else was going on at the same time? And why would they want people, if they knew on Sunday, why would they wait that long? Just to distract you, or is it part of something bigger? Is it possible it could have been something bigger? Now, I don't believe everything is a conspiracy, but my God, when stuff is in your face like this. But that's what they do. Let's throw a lot out there. Let's put a lot of truth. Or excuse me, let me go back. I said that wrong. A little truth with a lot of distraction, a lot of made up stuff and stories and something extra deep. Look, this has been going on for centuries. 40,000 foot view. No fear. Don't feed the feeders. No loose shear. No. No fear. Laugh. When you see it, look at it and laugh. Situational awareness, exactly. Hope for the best. That's right, Strado. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. That's what I said. Your square foot of real estate. And all these crazy people do what they're doing because I assure you it's definitely not what they're telling you. It rarely is. There's a lot more going on. And when it gets too crazy, I have to constantly tell myself, okay, I've sorted that. I have an idea about that. I'll put it in a back pocket, put it in the trunk of the car, whatever you got in the back of the closet, under the bed, whatever, in case you need it later. Because you're going to go out and you're going to work in your garden, or you're going to go with your grandkids and teach them how to bake cookies, or whatever it may be. Right? Because we have been lied to so much. At this point, I don't believe a damn thing. You can put families up there. You can go talk to the neighbors. You put them on, stick a microphone in their face. You can show me Godzilla, was the one who piloted the thing down or flew the plane over, whatever. Listen, between CGI, holograms, Photoshop and whatnot, a 13-year-old in the basement, chain eating cheesy poofs and drinking monsters one after the other can come up with that mess. What do you think your military's got in any country that I'm talking to right now? What do you think that they got in their back pocket? It was so funny because I was at work and I can talk to my boss like I'm talking to you. And she'll tell me, like, if somebody comes in, it's like, and I'm like, I got to be careful what I say around them. So I don't talk because I don't trust me. I know me. I've seen me do it. If you say something stupid around me, I'm at the point now where I'm like, what? So I try not to, I'm not fit for company. So I go do my work and I have headphones on and, they only come bother me when they really need to. I'm telling you, I just don't have why. Because if I hear stupid, I have to react to it. And there's a lot out there. And if it doesn't belong to me, it's like I'm at the baggage claim at the airport. I know what my luggage looks like. I've got a good handle on it. I don't need yours. Don't want it. Every once in a while, there's bangs into mine and I have to address it and get the hell out of there. But, isn't that what life is like? Depending on how big your world is and how much you have to get out and and mess around in it, you know? And it is different. But they can get you so worked up about something happening way across the, world from you. And of course things do affect us. Right. And walk away. I said the other day, I said, "Don't worry, honey. The universe will fix stupid, but it's gonna hurt." I walked away. I don't even care anymore. You know, it's gonna hurt. My boss tried to tell me, "Oh, such and such is, man, I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want nothing to do. Nothing to do." I said, "Do you want?" "No." I said, "Let me answer the phone." She says, "No." That's way past the point of being able to. I have shut up for so long, believe it. Where you have to be, listen, I was in the military. I drove people around. I had to pretend I wasn't hearing any of the conversations going on. And I would never say them now because I believe in my oath and, a little integrity, even though it's many years later, it doesn't matter. It's something that I said and I keep my word, right? As best as I can, you know. I mean, honestly, there's times I've slipped. I'm no way perfect, and there's times where I overrode it, go, no, this needs to be said. I just talked to Nate Kane the other night. Seriously, Nate Kane. If you know who I mean, he's now running for Congress. And I had a lovely little talk with him and another friend, and we were on the inner tubes on the radio, and I just said, man, you are an inspiration, and I wish we had a million more. What that man has gone through. And if you don't know who Nate Kane is the man that found out about Uranium One and put his life on the line as a whistleblower and turned in that information. And actually, very clandestine story of what he had to go through to protect himself and try to be smart about this whole thing. And actually met in a little church in Washington D.C., sitting in the pews with a hoodie on and having to pass off that hard drive. Problem is there are people with intestinal fortitude that do things like that, and then they wind up, shooting themselves 5 times in the chest with a bolt action rifle, or something else of the ilk, or completely having their lives destroyed and run the gauntlet of nameless shit. And then they fight to get that information to the person, and the person they're handing it to is corrupt, or the person they're handing it to is just as much as intestinal fortitude as that person does, but they hit a wall as they go up, and it gets squashed. Something that important. And you're seeing a lot of that. It's very disappointing. What you have to prepare yourself for is you're not going to see justice on every little thing. It's just not going to happen. Some of the people have already passed. You're never going to get it. What you can get is the truth. And you put the truth out there, and the more truth that comes out, and the more people that understand, and do something, find their thing, like Nate did, like Nate Kane. He's a proud man. I had a hard time looking in the eye when I was talking to him because I meant every word I was saying to him so much. What an inspiration he is. And to stand up and go through this all years later and still be here. And then to stick his neck out even further and try to run for Congress on, $5, $10, $25 donations that are coming from the deepest part of someone who has the same hope and faith in humanity that he does after all the crap he's seen. So think of people like that if you feel like you're having a bad day, because Nate's not giving up, sitting down. Seth Rich. If you don't know his story, you should, young man. He believed in doing the right thing. And it was the right thing. It wasn't anything about parties or me, give me yours and me, give me mine or whatever. It was about doing the right thing. And they killed him for it. JFK. They killed him for it. And if we keep calling it conspiracies and we don't look at it, some things are so crazy. Like when you get into this globe, the flat earth and the globe, and I'm like, man, that sounds like another psyop to me. It sounds like somebody's coming up with distraction. People are going to be passionate about it. They're going to get in debates, and it's going to make people separate more. And I just, I looked down and I said something really simple. How does that change my day? I don't have time. There's only so much RAM I have left. I don't need to sit and debate. It doesn't matter what I believe, whether round or square or flat or up or down or firmament or whatever. They've lied to us about so much stuff. I just can't even tell you. Oh, thank you, Ted. You're so sweet. I'll tell you what. I had me a little funny honey tonight, and I'm glad I did. And we will get to the psychic detective, but I know how much video I have. And I'm watching the clock, so I'm not wasting your time. This all ties in together. And I'm sorry if I am. This needs to be said. People out there need to hear it. But thank you, Ted, so much. People like you that keep the lights on here so we can keep the lights on out there. And we're going to get to that. I got a great story tonight about that, about how powerful energy is. It's going to blow your socks off. I love it. So anyway, the thing is this. Don't get caught up. Last week it was like I said, it was PSYOP buffet. And, there's so much going on under. Do not lose faith. Do not lose focus. Do not lose, sight on what's important to you, your well-being, your family's well-being, your county, your hometown, whatever it may be, how far out you want to go or how, close in you want to stay. A lot of people have been gray manning it for a very long time. Shit, I think I spent half my life doing that. Just in and out my day. I'm not even here. Like, not Mr. Invisible, not anything sad, more stealthy. Not that Mr. Cellophane out of the Chicago story, he's like nobody noticed him or whatever. Man, I didn't want you to notice me unless I did. And then there would be no doubt I was there. You know what I mean? But just go about my business. I'm telling you what. Let this be the last thing I say other than no fear. Don't get caught up in it. 40,000-foot view. 72-hour rule. Hey, Renice, welcome in. And hi to Thomas out there and Rocky. You know who you are. I love you guys so much. And they listen later. They don't come to the live. But you know what? All our listeners, every single one, I am so grateful for you. I am so grateful for the comments that say, I wait all week to hear this. And this is what can you imagine? We help each other get through the daggone week, and then we meet and go and sort it and go, hey, I'm okay. You okay? We're good. We're still good. Everything's cool. Not only that, but we're picking out what's actually going on in the layers and what's important. Like I said, I don't understand how they can do a weak story, and not to say that the story doesn't deserve, you know what I mean. But it's different. It's the heartstrings. It's the baby that fell in the pole. It's the Challenger blowing up. It's the the tragedies and the things that they want to focus on. Why? Why those when there's so many others going on all at the same time? Why are those important? What are they trying to do? Why are they trying? Where are they leading you? As they say, pay attention to this. Yeah, Wally World. Yeah. Yep. Gray man. That's the thing, man. It's just go in and get out. Unless you need, and then make a big noise. Just saying. But it's like me at work. Just leave me alone. I will get more work for you. You come over here to start, I'm out. You know, you don't want to mess with me. You know, I'll go out back and smoke a cigarette. Somebody comes in, it's like, I'm not, if I can't help it, I don't want to be there because it's more and more crazy. And it's insane crazy. And it's anxiety crazy. And it's the kind of, oh my, and it's, one lady actually said, and I promise you this, I didn't want any hydrangea in the vase. You have ruined my day. She's saying things like, just, it's the same 5 years ago when I was working at AC Moore, and the lady, because she couldn't use a coupon, ruined her day. And I came that close to saying, ma'am, if that's your only problem, God bless you. If your life is so perfect that it's so perfect, like a fine porcelain, that one tiny thing could just demolish and crack it to bits. People like that blow me. They blow my mind. They absolutely blow me out of the water. I just, what? It's crazy. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of countries that are looking back at what's happening here in mine and saying, what a bunch of crazy idiots. But knowing full well, just like we know in other countries, that all groups don't speak for the whole population. Believe me, we're doing it too. We're going, what? But we're also saying, hell no. Hell no. And everybody in this chat and everybody that watches this show and is in the paranormal and the metaphysical and even the true crime, if you're not into anything else but the true crime part or the mystery, they still have that type of mind that can sort this kind of stuff, and say, I see bullshit. Right? But I also see the supernatural interwoven. I see the evil. I see the spells. I see the power and the manipulation and the hurting. And I say, not me. Not me. Not you. We see you. We see you. And that makes the magic spell not work. It blows it. Just like light to dark. You recognize the frequencies. You recognize that when you walk in and you're watching a show and you start not feeling right, you're cutting it off. You're not watching it. You're not buying the stuff. You're not shopping at the places. You're not, you're doing it for yourselves. You're making your own damn marbles. You're going back to trades. You're sorting your own stuff. And you're also, I think, in some ways, a lot of us, especially the people in my age, are actually looking back and so grateful that we remember what our grannies taught us and our grandfathers. And we were paying attention and we had a little bit more of input into the things we need to know now. And hopefully because of that, through our lives, we've sorted it through a different kind of filter. And now we can be here, whether it's in this chat or in other chats or on your social media or on a telephone call or on a group call or a Zoom call or at the bus stop or wherever it may be. You can put your input in. And now you're the elder. And you're the one trying to give people wisdom, even though you don't call yourself wise, because we're still learning to say, I'm not buying that. I'm waiting a couple of hours. What else do they not want me to look at? I'm going to pay attention to this because this is going to affect me. Okay, all my stuff is sorted. I'm watching the show, or I'm going to go and get with nature or get what fulfills me. I'm going to go read to a kid or do whatever it does to fulfill me. I'm going to take that selfish time for me. Self-care, situational awareness, bullshit meters on high, and then laugh at it. Because the playbook is continuous. Don't feed them with the fear. Not having it. Because that means they win. And they ain't getting your light. Plain and simple. And it also makes you good detectives. Now, good detectives. I think about that. I know a lot of good people that you would consider. I know actual detectives, and I know many police officers throughout my life, both in good for good reasons and bad. Let's just be honest. I've known CID, a couple of those guys. Yeah, wanted to be an MP when I went in. That was my first choice. I was a quarter of an inch too short, even though I had, honest truth here, I even taped quarters to the bottom of my heel so it'd be a little higher. I did. So I was probably like, a little bit short. But anyway, to be an MP. So I didn't get it. I had to pick another MLS. So I wound up being a truck driver. It's crazy. But that being said, throughout your life, whether it's a mom trying to understand who really started the fight, who broke the toy, who got the cookie, where that money went, who is responsible for that money go, whatever it may be, you're a detective. You have to sort things, right? And logical thinking, critical thinking, all of that. I think it really fires off special parts of us. And as we get older, I mean, how many times have you heard or said as a parent or a grandparent or as a teacher or whatever, I'm older and I'm wiser. I've lived a long time, and the trick of that is to live through those bad judgments, those bad choices, or those hard times, or things that happen to you. Look, we got to play the cards we're dealt. You either sit there and cry about it, or you can go, look, I could do something with this, but I got to get a little shifty, or I got to get, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but got to get a little creative. That's what life is. Everybody in my family's got a story, and I'll tell you, when one of the young ones come in, they start spieling off, well, this, or it was a little hard to do this, or a little bit hard. They're sitting at a table of people that were like orphans at 12, first job at like 11, never stopped working, all of them blue collar, all of them hard, and then we're comparing our lives to people that worked in workhouses, and you think of somebody like Charles Dickens's stories of actually working in the tar factories and the other things that people, farmers, and any walk of life that you could imagine, people having to walk miles just to get a bucket of water every day. I mean, whatever you got to compare it to, more forgetful. We don't forget the important shit, do we, Froze? I mean, honest to God, I think it's just our mind sorting what's important. Like a dog will learn, can only store a lot of different scents. But from what I understand, there's a lot of them, but there's only so many. So when old scents go away, new ones, that kind of thing. And I'm no scientist. I'm not a vet, and I'm not a dog. So I can't, but I've heard that, and it makes sense. And I think that's the way sometimes our old brains work. We keep what's important, because think about it. You can remember your phone number in high school, right? Or maybe, your best friend or girlfriend or whatever it may be, but you can't remember what you had for breakfast. It's what's important. And it's the weird stuff. It's like that crap you've collected all your life, and you don't know how the hell you lost the couch that you had in that third apartment. You can't imagine what happened to it, but you got some little tchotchke thing, that came on a keychain or something that you've had since, grammar school. You can't figure out how in the world you still got this thing. It means absolutely nothing, but all the big stuff is gone. Yes, please tap the like. Thank you, Kathita. So there's that. And I think in the paranormal, we're some brave people because we're willing to take on all the regular stuff in life and all the regular sorting and look at all the other layers that are all around that other people like to dismiss and say, oh, that doesn't exist, you know? And I look at those people and I feel sorry for them because all that really means is that their RAM was already filled up. They don't have room for this. It's not that they don't believe, it's just they're in a different consciousness than they don't even know what they're not believing in. You see. Does that make sense? It's just a theory. And it's also scary because if they admit one thing exists, then these other things may. And it's just too much. And I don't know how to deal with it. And I don't know how to fight with it. I don't know how to kill it. I don't know how to stop it. And I don't know how to keep it from happening. So I'm just going to dismiss it altogether. I know people with great abilities that do that to the darker side. They won't even deal with it or admit that it exists. They just deal over here in the light. We're all here. So it's kind of what I, and I don't mean this as an insult in any way, but in my mind, just to categorize it, I call it the Mr. Rogers group, where there's not a damn thing wrong with what that man was doing or how he did it or how he spoke it and the way he got things. I've seen him handle himself very well, better than 99.9 of the people I've seen in Congress right now. And I like some of the people in Congress right now. It's not many of them, and not deeply and thoroughly. But there's a few people that in there that I actually like. I don't trust them. I feel if you got up that far for that long, you dirty somewhere. I don't know where, and I don't want to know, but you're dirty somewhere. Whether you know it or not. Let's be honest. But the Mr. Rogers group of say psychics and mediums and stuff like that, I go, oh no, there might be some bad things, but there's nothing really evil. Because they can only go so far, right? What happened to Straw Dog? You okay, Straw Dog? Did you slip and fall in the chat? Is it hard in there? Is it hazardous? Everything's I thought we were safety. Everything, we've got smooth corners. Everything's good in there, right? You can't get. I don't want anybody to get hurt in the chat. Did you slip and fall, Straw Dog? You okay? Somebody help him up, mods. But thank you so much. Hit the like if you be so kind as to subscribe. It's just a button. It's not an oath of any kind. We need the subscriptions. We need to get past the algorithms because, as you see, sometimes I speak what I call Cisco's truth. It's just my observant. There's nothing written here in stone except the fact that I know damn well we're constantly being lied to, and we see it, and we're way past, is it happening? Just like we're way past a lot of the conspiracies or do ghosts exist? Does Bigfoot exist? Is there animals we couldn't possibly know about out there running around and other entities that people just don't understand? Yeah, there is. These things exist. We've seen too much of it to deny it. We're here. We take certain cases and certain stories, or we talk about Bigfoot and we try to sort it and say, what's going on here? And why for so many years have we said that ghosts can't hurt people and why do we call everything that we can't see that might go bump in the night a ghost? See, in this chat, and the people that listen to this show, they know that there's so many things and you can't fit them all into a category. Just like with psychics. You've got psychics that are so full on. I mean, they're full tilt boogie. And they're just in there and they've got it. And they're just, well, I'm going to I'm on the way. I'm shopping at the Kroger. And all of a sudden this guy shows up. And I know he got killed. And now he's with me every day. And I'm folding laundry. And he's telling me what's going on. He's showing me flashes. And I go down to the cops. And I tell them, and I'm sitting at the cop shop for like 9 hours and they're interrogating me because I told them where the body was. And, this happens. And people flippantly say to people I know very well that are extremely talented and put their selves out there, much like soldiers do. in a lot of ways. The intestinal fortitude to do so, to do something about it, like Nate Kane. It might not be uranium one and stupid, horrid, evil people who have this power plan. And if you don't think that exists, please, please, evil is walking. It's holding hands and just they're pulling all the. But why do people do that? Why do people do that? Especially evil people, power people. They start pulling all the strings because they're scared. You wouldn't be seeing things you're seeing if they weren't all flibbity gibbet right now. Brrr. Making a lot of mistakes. I don't know. Maybe you're not a chess player. I'm not that good at chess. I'm real good at life, though. And I can see a lot going on. Not because of anything, or I've just lived a long life and I've paid attention. And I've seen it from the good seats, the bad seats. I've had to pay attention. You know what I mean? I mean, you learn a lot more, working all day on cars, listening to the fat man smoking cigars, talking shit about what they're doing behind the scenes. You don't say anything, but you're aware of it. Not involved in it. You know who to stay away from because you're not about that. You just want to work on cars. Whatever your story is, pay attention because you're here and you're interested in the paranormal and you understand there are things out there that we can't explain 100%, but by God, we know they're there. And this thing called the paranormal and psychic abilities and energy and the investigation of it and the history of it and the trying to unpeel back. And if you're not just interested in that, but you have also a connection to the compassion for that, where you realize we're talking about people here, just like we are. Ghosts were people too, are people too, just the spirit of. Then you put the humanity back into it. I think it was always supposed to be there to begin with. And now you're helping other humans. Who'd you time out, Bubby? Pammy? Are you guys accidentally snipering people out of the chat? It's okay. What happened? Did you put Steve in timeout? I don't know what's going on. Ted, are you in timeout? Who's in timeout? Somebody go in and get whoever. What's happening? They're not banned though, right? Because I have to go get it. If you threw them in the sandbox, I got to go to a different computer to get them out. Well, I can do that during the video. So if they're in the sandbox with all those other evil people and porn bots and Russian hooker robots and stuff, they might want to stay there a little while. Straw Dog? Is Straw Dog not here? Uh-oh. Honey, are you okay? I'll go look for him and see if he's in the street. If he doesn't pop back up, that means he's in the sandbox. Straw Dog, if you're listening, I'll come in there and get you, hon. Oh, he's timed out. He'll pop back. Just tell him you're sorry when he comes back. That's all. But if you banned him, blocked him, that he's in the deep, dark litter box over there. Okay. I'm sorry that happened, Straw Dog. We didn't mean it. Every once in a while we slip. All right. So what happens when someone has abilities, psychic abilities, and they get these messages from a murder victim? What do they do? Now, what do they do if they get it so clear and so consistent and so... I'm trying to find the right word. I don't want to say cumbersome because in a lot of ways, if you talk to the psychics, they don't feel burdened with it. A lot of them feel very privileged. But it is in a lot of ways Don't go into light, straw dog, right? Can you find your way back? Oh gosh, if he's in there with all those porn robots and stuff, there's no telling what's going on. God, I hope he can swim. Hang on, straw dog. You can make it. Hold your breath, honey. Oh, he's there. Okay, good. We're sorry, honey. We didn't mean it. I'm not even sure what happened, but I think you got timed out accidentally by somebody, which is easy to do when your fingers slip or whatever. But anyway, we're sorry that happened. You didn't miss anything. We're about to start the video. So I know quite a few mediums that similar things have happened to. And burden, and some say, they feel like it's a burden. I even put that in as an, in honor of them. I put that in cabin 22 where Greta said, why do I have to get these prophetic dreams if I can't stop, the tragedy from happening or find what's important to me or whatever, and use it for good. And towards the end of the story, she actually does. She finds her way there, and she does get to use it for good, and she's quite satisfied, I assure you. And it's really a cool story. So that happens to a lot of mediums, right? A lot of times they'll get arrested, they're interrogated. You know what I'm saying? And that's rough. And not only that, but it's kind of a little unnerving to, you're in the shower and all of a sudden, here's this murder victim, God bless him, standing in your bathroom. Very for whatever, because again, they're all individuals, so it's all going to come through different. They might only be able to say one phrase, or they're repeating something over and over, or they're just glitchy and they're staring, or they don't even know you can see them yet, or whatever it may be. I've often told the story of that one medium who she's just working at her computer trying to do her stuff, and right behind her, here's this girl. She's telling her the story. She goes through the whole thing. She's driving a car. She's in the back seat. She's picking up her kids at school. She's sitting next to the kids. She's folding laundry. There she is. And she's going to the cops. Nobody's listening to her. Finally, she's extremely persistent. It all turns up that the girl was able to give her enough information to tell the police, the investigators that were on that cold case, kind of, it was pretty cold, that there was evidence in the box now, that because DNA had changed, the things had changed, and the DNA had, come to fruition, and things like this, and it wasn't just blood type. You could actually tell, different, with the DNA and stuff. So things had gotten better, and she said that there was something in there, a pack of Marlboro Reds that had some DNA on it, because the guy smoked the cigarettes, put it out, put it back in a pack. That was one of his little habits he did. Got his nasty, evil ass caught too, by the ghost of the victim from the other side, because that woman would not give up. The living wouldn't give up to help the dead. I find that fascinating. And she went through all the slings and arrows. She went through all of the accusations and the headaches and trying to deal with her regular life and have a job and everything else, with this constantly happening. And as the girl got closer and closer, where, you go to the police and you find the investigator and you get them to listen to you, and they think you're absolutely crazy, and they dismiss you, and you go back for another couple weeks of that, and then you go back again. It's a trip. And I think it's absolutely amazing that there are so many of these cases that you barely hear about. There are cases that ghosts have actually given evidence that was used in court. There's not many, but there's a few. There are houses that were deemed haunted by a judge in New York City. There's so many different things happening now that are different than what was going on 50 years ago. But these types of cases where psychics and mediums have helped investigations. And I'm going to show you two tonight. If you stick with me, I'm going to show you two tonight. This first one is a young man. I believe this happened over there in across the pond. I wanted to get one in America and one over. I think it's very interesting. I love to see the contrast of the way things are held. handled. I love to see the contrast of the same type of, I'm a police officer, and how am I going to use this evidence? First, I don't believe this woman. Who's this crazy person, man or woman? How am I don't believe in this stuff. Oh my gosh, this is beyond coincidence at this point. I have no longer, can't dismiss this stuff. Then you're dealing with your own belief system and your faith and your job, and then trying to sort that and put it all in a nice tight package so that evidence can lead to actual evidence that can be used in a court of law to get the scumbag who did the deed. And it all starts with a ghost. Very interesting. So put your Sherlock hats on, get your adult beverages. Okay. Get your snacks, get your caramel bacon popcorn, get your bacon sandwiches. I had myself tonight, and I cannot lie, a homemade, beautiful American bacon cheeseburger on a potato bun. It was so good. It was so good. You know, but so I hope you had bacon in your life today. If not, we can throw you some bacon in the chat while you watch this one. I think it's the right one. Let me make sure. Yep, this one. Is it the right one? Come on, buddy. Yep, it is. So here is an example of when a medium or psychic is getting this information, but is having resistance from the police force or the detectives that are on the case, these cold cases. But you can see, the neat thing is you can kind of see how it still worked and how it came to fruition. So I hope you enjoy it. We got very lucky that I can show these to you. So I'm thrilled to be here with this tonight. This is just fantastic. Here we go.
December 1998, Lindsay Kwai vanishes on Christmas Day. A police missing persons inquiry fails, and a family is torn apart. But a visitor from beyond the grave appears to a psychic in a nightmarish vision.
Is that too loud, guys? It's really loud over here. I turned it up to be sure you guys could hear it. Is that too loud? Or is it just right? Give me a 5-5 if it's just right. If it's too loud, just say loud. I could turn it down. But if it's cool, I'll just roll with it. But I don't want to blow anybody's speakers out, okay?
She told me she'd been carnaged and mangled. She was trying to tell us that she'd been brutally murdered. Then she flashed the railway line. I could see the railway track, and I feel that's where she was telling me this is where she had been killed.
Is that better? What? 5-5 loud. I got 2 louds and a 5-5 and a what? Okay, I turned it down about 25%. If it's okay, I will roll with it.
And it was for me to go and help him.
Is Lindsay missing, or is she dead? And can a psychic discover the truth behind her disappearance? Southport, northwest England. Deserted
Isn't this a damn treat? Psychic investigators. I'm thrilled.
now, but every summer this seaside town attracts millions of visitors. Most come to breathe in the sea air, stretch out on the miles of empty beaches, and enjoy the thrills of the roller coaster. But this man is no tourist. He is Psychic Joe Power, and he's been drawn here by a missing girl and a nightmare he will never forget. The story starts here in December 1998. Lindsay Kwai is a 21-year-old wife and mother of 2 small children.
Lindsay was a very kind person, do anything for anybody. Good mother.
The Quays are just an average family preparing for the holidays, but on Christmas Day 1998, their lives change forever when Lindsay mysteriously vanishes. Days turn into weeks, and weeks turn into months, and still nobody hears from Lindsay. Her family begin to suspect that something is very wrong.
Well, you know, anyone goes missing in your family, it's just undescribable, the feelings you get. Everyone was worrying, and our brains were going, swirling, we weren't sleeping, we weren't eating. It was just a great worry.
In February, Southport police take a statement from Lindsay's distraught husband, Mitchell.
He said that she'd gone out drinking with her friends and that she'd stayed out all night, and he'd been left alone with the two children in the house and had woken with them on his own on Christmas Day, and went on to say that Lindsay had arrived later on the Christmas morning, still under the influence of drink, went into a shower, didn't say anything, got a few clothes together, and then left without saying anything to the children.
Okay, right out the gate, I'm calling bullshit. I just want that known. Any mom that's here right tonight just went bullshit. Just saying.
Sometime in the January, he'd seen her in a vehicle with a guy who he didn't know at a junction in Southport somewhere, and he presumed that she'd just started a new life.
Since then, nobody has seen or heard from Lindsay. Police class her as a missing person, and working with her husband Mitchell, start a high-profile nationwide appeal for her return.
We had a press conference, which he attended, and he reiterated the story that he'd given to the police.
And she came in the morning, she was out of her face. She came in at 7 o'clock in the morning. She went straight up to bed, and I got the kids up then, opened a present.
Sorry, guys. Here we go. I'll fix it. Here we
Lindsay's
go.
watching this. No one's blaming her for what she's done, you know, leaving the children.
Choo-choo.
And we'd like to contact the police as soon as possible.
Psychic Joe Power has been following the case in the press, but late one night in February, he has a nightmare that he thinks is a message from the spirit world.
I'd gone to sleep. It was like any ordinary night. During my sleep, I heard a phone ring and two people appeared to me.
Joe recognizes the woman from the newspapers as housewife Lindsay Quay, but police think she is a missing person. Joe claims that the spirit of Lindsay is trying to tell him she's been murdered, who her killer is, and where to find her body.
Lindsay Quay told me she had been carnaged and mangled.
Joe's vision is incredibly violent and shocks him to this day.
And then she told me for the police to search the railway, and also as well, the police must search the fairgrounds.
But why did Lindsay want these two areas searched? As the images intensify, Joe receives more information.
I heard McDowell's, and I actually seen McDowell's, so I was hearing it and I was seeing it. And I also heard her say tractors.
Joe is confused and distressed by his vision. He turns to friend, retired police support worker Frida Valentine for advice.
He started telling me that he'd been visited by Lindsay Quay in a dream, and she said, "Please help me. I am desperate for somebody to recognise that I have been murdered. I am not a missing person."
Frida is shocked by what Joe tells her.
I think he really believed that she had been cut up. With him saying about the mangled carnage, it more or less looked as though they couldn't see or recognise any parts of the body.
Joe also tells Frida where he thinks Lindsay might be buried.
He told me that he'd been shown the railway track and also the fairground in Southport. I suggested to Joe that he go to the police and give all this information.
Reluctantly, Joe follows Frida's advice.
I was absolutely terrified going into a police station. I thought they would think I was the murderer, going in with so much detailed and accurate information.
But no detectives from the Missing Persons Inquiry Team is...
See what I mean? And I'll tell you, I've known people that have been interrogated for days, just trying to do what this guy's doing. It's a tough world out there, man. Well, do you do it? Do you dig in? Do you keep fighting? Yeah, you do.
available, so Joe gives a full statement to another officer.
And she reassured me that that information would be passed on to the officers in charge.
If information comes in from a psychic or a medium that we feel can be corroborated or will send us in a certain direction, then my view is that we will always utilise that if it helps us. But the problem with that is that quite often it's not supported by any tangible evidence.
Joe never hears back from the police regarding his statement. As far as they're concerned, this is still a missing persons case.
But it was very frustrating to me because at that time I knew this was a murder case and not a missing persons.
Joe is determined to discover more about Lindsay Kwai's mysterious disappearance. Has she been killed? Was she buried in the fairground or the railway? And could Joe convince the police Lindsay is not a missing person and a killer is walking free? A young mother, Lindsay Kwai, has gone missing. Police have no clue to her whereabouts. Her husband has appealed for her safe return, but in a terrifying vision, psychic Joe Power sees a woman being killed and dismembered. Is this Lindsay? Should police be hunting a murderer? Joe is determined to find out.
I felt I had to investigate this case myself because the police were not listening, and I felt I had a sense of duty to get this young lady's remains found.
Joe drives to Southport. He has no map and he doesn't know the area. All he has is his confusing list of locations from Lindsay. The railway, the fairground, McDowell's, and a tractor yard. After hours in the car, Joe is tired and lost. He's convinced his psychic connection to Lindsay has failed until he reaches a certain road completely by chance.
It was just around this part here that I heard a voice crystal clear, and a sudden noise shouted, "Stop!" And I turned to the right, pulled up the car, and for no apparent reason at all is that the car horn started to go off. I got out of the car, pulled the bonnet, eventually it went off. And I got back in the car and I decided, with the car horn going off, that I'd get away from the area because of the neighbours and the sound, and I felt really quite frightened at that stage. And I drove around on the next street. But just before I'd actually got to the bottom of the road, there was a place called McDowell's that was on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side was another place full of tractors. That's when it all sunk into me that this is where she had actually sent me.
Both the tractor yard and McDowell's are on Stamford Road, the very road where Lindsay lived with husband Mitchell and her 2 children.
Now, see, that's incredible. Isn't it? I mean, just think about that. And here's this poor guy, total stranger. And that's what blows my mind. In the paranormal, in, you know, whether it's metaphysical, whether you're a medium or a psychic or someone with abilities, an empath, an investigator, someone that goes to someone's home and tries to help them sort whatever's going on there, or whether you go just to help ghosts. There's this connection to humanity and doing what's right against all odds. It's a beautiful thing, man. As sad as it is, it shows you that how connected we really are and how important that is.
Joe is now convinced that the woman who appeared to him was Lindsay Kwai. But why is she drawing him here?
After I left the area, I felt shocked, I felt disturbed, but I also felt, it's strange to say this, is reassurance in the images that I had actually received.
Once again, Joe decides to contact the police. This time, he writes a letter to the head of the missing person investigation, Bob Marsden.
I wrote to Bob Marsden and told him that I was no ordinary person. I was doing this because this young lady had appeared to me, and this case needs to be looked at in more detail.
Joe receives this receipt for his letter, but the police do not call.
I believe Joe was getting very, very frustrated because he'd informed all the police, and yet they still believed that she was actually missing.
Sometime after Joe's letter arrived at Southport Police Headquarters, a review of the missing persons inquiry is ordered. Detective Superintendent Jeff Sloan is brought in to re-examine all the evidence. Immediately, his instincts as a police officer tell him something is not right.
There was a lot of circumstantial evidence which tended towards the fact that Lindsay was not alive. We couldn't establish any proof of life.
Lindsay hasn't used her bank account since before Christmas. She hasn't applied for income support or housing benefit. Vital medical appointments have been missed, and she has had no contact with her family, not the actions of either a runaway or a loving mother.
When I read through the documents and I read through the lifestyle and some of the issues that emanated from that missing from home inquiry, I formed the opinion quite quickly that this actually should be a murder inquiry. I felt that Lindsay had been murdered.
Joe Power is no longer alone in his belief that Lindsay has been killed.
It's very frustrating, knowing that this young lady had been cornered to the mangles and you have to sit there and wait for her to be found.
Detective Superintendent Jeff Sloan is placed in charge of the Mew murder inquiry, but this isn't going to be an easy case to crack.
It's very frustrating not to have a body because when you have a body, that's where your lines of inquiry start to develop. All we had was 22 Stamford Road, which was Lindsay's home address, where she'd lived with Mitchell. Well, the very first thing that we do is to go back and fully search the house again, the gardens and the area immediately surrounding the house.
Using the house as their starting point, the police begin one of the largest searches ever conducted in mainland England.
And we actually used officers from the Royal Air Force, the JARIC, which is a reconnaissance organisation, who flew over and could detect any recently disturbed ground. And if they highlighted any areas, then we would send a specialist search team to go and excavate.
It's an agonizing time for Lindsay's family.
We're by the phone 24/7, and sometimes we get false information where bones had been found at one time. And we were given the information, then we found out it was a pig, a dead pig. And then when you heard about a body being found and this, that and the other, one was found in the River Ribble, I think, you wondered if that was Lindsay. It's never ending.
But the police failed to find any evidence of Lindsay.
I was concerned that we hadn't found a body, and I was at a loss as to where we would look to next, and took the decision that we wouldn't undertake any more searches or digging until it was based on intelligence that we had through. But it was frustrating for me.
The police are forced to suspend all searches, but Lindsay's parents refuse to give up hope. They spend every waking moment looking for their daughter.
Well, we searched in canals, rivers, we got stung by bees, hornets, you name it, but I used to be up to my neck sometimes in freezing cold water. We couldn't stop, it was just our way of contributing towards finding Lindsay.
With the police search on hold and no new information coming forward, it looks as if Lindsay's body may never be found and the case remain unsolved. But Psychic Joe Power believes this is something the spirit world would never allow. Joe thinks Lindsay's spirit is unable to rest, as once again she appears to him with a message from beyond the grave.
The second time Lindsay appeared to me was at my home address, and she came to me and told me that the police were not listening to the information that I had previously provided to them.
Joe's first vision led him to Lindsay's house. Now he returns to Southport to search the fairground and railway track. He has a feeling that these areas are in some way connected to her disappearance. He starts at the railway track. Joe doesn't know what he should be looking for. He's hoping his psychic powers will be his guide.
When I walked along this particular part of the railway line, my hair stood up on my hand and I heard a voice. I believe that was Lindsay telling me is that she was in this location.
But if Lindsay is buried at the railway, why does Joe want the police to search the fairground as well?
It was quite clear to me is that this young lady's remains were in two separate locations.
But Joe Power fails to find any evidence that Lindsay is in this location. For Detective Superintendent Sloan, the case is equally baffling, with no new leads coming in. He decides to re-examine the original witness testimonies. He wants to build a picture of Lindsay's last known movements.
We believe Lindsay had been shopping on the 15th of December and had actually made a call to the benefits agency. And she made an inquiry about a missing cheque, which should have been issued in the November. As a result of that conversation, she was sent out a disclaimer form, which was never ever received and never ever recovered by the police. It was after that phone call, basically, that Lindsay ceased to exist.
Detective Superintendent Sloan discovers that the only person who claims to have seen Lindsay alive after December 16th was her husband, Mitchell Quay. He told police she left him and abandoned her children on Christmas Day. Detective Superintendent Sloan is suspicious. He has a feeling Mitchell's statement doesn't ring true. It doesn't fit with the profile he has built of Lindsay.
Given the background of Lindsay, what her upbringing was, the way she was interacted with her children, that there was no way she would have walked out on her children on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Police take a closer look at Lindsay and Mitchell's relationship.
Mitchell was very violent towards Lindsay over a number of years, and ultimately she did try to institute divorce proceedings from him. But the issue was then that she'd always accepted Mitchell back and they'd always be reconciled.
I have to pause there. For any young people that are listening to this and to listen to it in the future, there's a lesson here. And I won't get too deep into it, but deep does have something to do with it. If you ever find yourself jumping in, and I mean this metaphorically now, jumping in the ocean to constantly save somebody that's trying to drown themselves. Now, whether that means they're abusive or they're addictive or, they've got some wild gambling thing and, your bank account's being emptied, or they're physically abusive or funny towards your kids or controlling, whatever it may be, whatever name your own horror. Because over time, a lot of things can become just that, a horror. And I can understand what some of these people are going through, because I lived through more than one loved one going missing for long periods of time. Now, very grateful they didn't turn out the way a lot of these cases here tonight. And, anybody that's ever watched these detective crime investigation stories, usually they turn out the person, but very well could have, any one of them. And you still go through the weeks of agony, not knowing and looking everywhere and jumping with the phone and the door and a car and just asking questions and calling hospitals and police stations. And it's absolutely horrid. So I can't imagine the outcome such as this. Some of these people go through this 20, 30 years and not know. Especially when it's a child, you always wonder, are they out there? It's terrible. But if you find yourself constantly going back, she was almost out. She went back. One more time, I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. I'll change. Pick your thing. And I'm not saying they don't mean it when they're saying it. And this goes male, female, back and forth, whatever you want to say, too. Because I know plenty of battered men out there that keep putting up with a lot of shit they shouldn't. I mean, let's just be real. But if you find yourself constantly jumping back into that ocean to get somebody that keeps jumping back in and taking you down with them, and even when because you see that one spark, there's something in there worth saving. They mean it this time. He won't do it again. She won't do it again. They won't do it again. People, let me tell you something. Everybody's got their own line. Everybody's got their own point they're going to go up to and stop. You can't take no more. Everybody's got their own. You got to make your own decisions. But if you look back and you see yourself doing that more than once, please do a self-care time where you really look at yourself and go, I have to take care of me. I have to move away from this and let this person do their own and don't go back. Because it seems time after time after time, it's like they got away, but they went back. On Christmas, this beautiful girl was taken from her kids, this slimy worm, a poor excuse for a human being, failed his soul greatly and hers, and took her out on Christmas away from her children, and sat there and opened the presents with his kids that she bought them on Christmas morning, went on TV and begged people to help him find her, made up a story that she went out and drank all night long, came back at 7 o'clock, left that house, didn't even say goodbye, packed a few things, didn't even say goodbye to the kids, got in a car with some strange person. He assumed she was going off to start a new life and did it with a straight face, knowing full well that he chopped her up in a bathtub with his kids sleeping in the next room. That's evil walking. That's a broken human being that is of no use to himself or anybody else. Seriously, you can't fix that kind of psycho. It's absolute. So please, if you are that person, don't go back. Take care of you. Your square foot of real estate. Get far, far away from it. And know that you did everything you could do. Don't look back. Move on. Take care of you. Because the psychos are multiplying. Because now they're doing it to them with pharmaceuticals. They're not just natural anymore. They're getting a lot of help. Let's just put it that way. From multiple angles. And people are getting crazier and crazier. Take care of you. Right? You can't save them all. Adopt a kid. Get a puppy. Okay? So sad.
Could Mitchell really be her killer? Was this why Lindsay's spirit led Joe to her road? Was she trying to tell him that this was the murder scene? Joe's nightmarish vision had started a psychic investigation that took him to Southport Fairground, the railway track, and Lindsay's own home. But what significance did these locations have? All is to be revealed as police close in on their prime suspect, Lindsay's husband, Mitchell Quay.
Well, Mitchell portrayed an image of he was the abandoned father, the abandoned husband, and that, sadly for us, he was very plausible in front of the media. He was very confident, overconfident sometimes. He seemed to be reaching out to the community, and a lot of people seemed to be believing him and formed the opinion that perhaps the police were just picking him out because he seemed the obvious candidate for a suspect.
In June 2000, Detective Superintendent Jeff Sloan trusts his instincts and arrests Mitchell Quay on suspicion of murdering his 21-year-old wife, Lindsay.
Well, Mitchell was an egotist, and I actually felt that he formed the opinion that he could get away with this because of the time element and the fact that the media had shown such an interest in him, and various members of the community were sympathetic to him.
But despite hours of questioning, Mitchell refuses to crack. Detective Superintendent Sloan is convinced that he has his man, but he doesn't have enough evidence to press charges. It looks like Mitchell is about to walk.
Basically stuck to his story, but when we listened to the interviews, his responses and his replies, I got from the psychologist that we were starting really to get to him and he was becoming quite low and down in this. And I think the telling point came when I gave instructions within his hearing that his father was to be charged and so was his brother.
Phone records show that at key points in the investigation, Mitchell made an unusually large number of calls to his brother Elliot and his father. This was totally out of character, and Detective Superintendent Sloan thought it pointed to their involvement.
The arrest of Elliot and the subsequent arrest of Mitchell's father had quite a pronounced impact on Mitchell, because I think he felt that he'd actually succeeded in convincing members of the public, the press, and to a certain degree the police, that he was right and that Lindsay had just disappeared. He thought it would go away. And I got the impression that when he realised that we did mean business and that they too had been arrested, that reality started to creep in, and the realisation was that he wasn't going to get away with it. I made the decision that I was going to charge Mitchell with murder. And within a very, very short space of time, I was contacted on my mobile to tell me that Mitchell had actually admitted that he had in fact killed Lindsay.
Over a year after Lindsay Quay first went missing, the truth surrounding her disappearance is finally uncovered.
The last few hours of Lindsay's life all centred around the cheque that had gone missing in November. Mitchell at some stage had tried to encash that cheque. There's a row developed over that and he's lost his control and he's strangled her.
As Mitchell's confession continues, the true horrific nature of the crime is revealed.
And that's when he recruited Elliot to come in and to help him to dispose of the body. And that's when he decided that he and Elliot would cut the body up in the bath with the children asleep in bed in the next room, which I thought was horrific.
The images of violence in Joe's dream were now explained. Lindsay was dismembered, just as Joe had said. And the scene of the crime? Lindsay's house on Stamford Road, the very place Joe had been led to 12 months earlier. How did he know these facts?
I knew 100% I'd been right all the time. It was a very emotional case and a very upsetting case.
Mitchell Quay leads police officers to the locations where he buried his wife's remains.
Lindsay's torso was found near to the Pleasureland theme park at Southport, behind a go-kart racing track where Mitchell used to work. We found Lindsay's legs on the railway embankment, which was near to one of the first places they resided together.
Joe had asked for these locations to be searched over 12 months earlier.
I knew straight away. It didn't come as a surprise for me. What you've got to remember is how powerful these images, what she had shown to me. She'd already shown me the fairground. She'd shown me the railway.
But unfortunately for Joe, at that time he was working alone. He never did receive the call to help the police. But Joe believes there is one person who recognizes the part he played in this case.
Lindsay briefly appeared to me after her remains were actually found, and I heard her say thank you, and there was no more contact from this young lady.
On January 16th, 2001, Mitchell Quay is sentenced.
Mitchell was sentenced to a mandatory life term of imprisonment with a tariff of 18 years because of the severity of the way he disposed of his wife, Lindsay.
Elliot Quay receives 7 years for his part in the gruesome murder. Mitchell's father is released without charge.
This case was extremely difficult to crack, not least because of the way that she was murdered, the way she was disposed of, and the way that he behaved after the murder, actually actively seeking the press and seeking public opinion on his side and sympathy.
Detective Superintendent Sloan receives a special commendation for the integral part he played in the capture and conviction of this most devious of killers. Joe Power's personal investigation is as yet unrecognized.
When the killers were caught, I was very satisfied that I'd done my job. All the detail and all the information that had been provided made me feel very, very satisfied, not only just for me, but for Lindsay Quay's parents as well. It was a very emotional case and a very upsetting case.
Because that's what enlightened people do.
To lose Lindsay that way is
Lovely.
affected everybody, the whole family. Me
Lovely.
included. Never going to be the same again. Still suffering now. We'll just be suffering until the day we die.
Bless her heart.
Peter,
She went back.
my
Don't
eldest
go
son,
back.
hung himself in the loft at my house. Could never get over the fact of what they did to Lindsay after they'd murdered her. That's what led to his suicide.
On top of that, this young girl's brother succumbed to the depression and the anxiety and the horror of what his sister went through, that he hung himself in his father's loft, in case you missed it. This is the father. This man. And then you tell me you can't get through, right? I mean, you wonder, people are made of such resilience. It's hard. It's hard to get it. You got to live through some hard stuff to get it. Man, what human beings endure It's mind-boggling, is it not?
2 years after her vicious murder, Lindsay is finally able to rest in peace. But she leaves behind a family torn apart by tragedy.
Mitchell's taken my daughter. He's taken Robin and Jack's mother. He's taken my son, Peter, because I blame him for that as well. He's taken
God bless you,
family,
sir. God bless
which we'll
you.
never forgive him for.
Look at this kitty. I love this kitty. He says, He's just too cute, man. Listen, man. This stuff is going on. This stuff is happening. There's no question about it. Story after story after story after story. You know, these wonderful people who dedicate themselves for strangers, and we have people that know each other treating each other in the most horrible ways. It's mind-boggling. Human nature is mind-boggling. You know? Right? Psycho cat, right? Yeah, it's a sweet kitty. So I went and got myself some more tea. I'm drinking the rose mint tonight, actual roses. It's lovely. It is by Bigelow. Get yourself some. I hope they have it at your local corner, your corner mom and pop store. Support local if you can. Jack, that was a pretty cool story, man. Remote viewing. I have to get in here with Brian Bowden, and I know several very good remote viewers. Tammy, Kat of Paranormal Heart podcast, a lovely podcast. She does a great job over there. She's also a wonderful voice over artist and narrator. You know, lovely people, you know, just like you guys. So great story, right? So that was a great example of how the perseverance of this psychic to get the word out there, to not give up. He did everything, sent letters, got it registered mail, did, persistent, and yet still no interaction, nobody working with him, nobody trying to take the information he's given. They're not really poo-pooing it there toward the end, but there wasn't anything that they could use that came up with something solid that would give them justification to bring it to court or to bring charges or whatever, right? Whereas if you have police officers or detectives or investigators that are a little more open-minded and a little bit more willing to give it a shot, like they're reluctant and they don't know quite what they believe, but they believe what they're seeing and they're listening and they're willing to learn. And when something like that happens, this is what I'm talking about in your own paranormal investigation group. Again, I'm no expert, but I've been, guest on several different groups and done many things on my own. But the thing is this, I believe it's a benefit if we could take all the knowledge and all of the data and all of the creativity and intuition and common sense and logical thinking and detective work and put it all together. At this point, holy mackerel, why aren't we doing that? Why do we still have just, I don't believe in this. That doesn't belong, science and this doesn't belong together. And all of this back and forth and UFO, dogmen, doesn't exist, and Bigfoot, and back and forth. How about just anything is possible? Let's try to sort it and maybe look at how it's connected and how it parallels each other in some ways, and what it might answer. It might answer some questions you have. I'm sure it's going to create more questions, but that's just the way the paranormal is. And to focus more on the miracle and the common connection. Do you see where I'm coming from? So if all of that's together, like an orchestra on a stage, tech and research and historians, and the knowledge of the property or whatever it may be, or the building or the case. And then you have people with abilities and people, even the camera, if there's just somebody there to videotape, is paying attention to their intuition and their surroundings and the connections and putting their thoughts and feelings into it too. Not just their, taking data, and taking it cold, because you're a human being first, no matter what equipment you have. That's your best equipment. And when it all gets together, like I said, like an orchestra, and it plays that music, I think you get more solid. I hesitate to use the word evidence but I guess that's what you call it. But better than evidence, the experience and the possibility and the chance to sort it and maybe get a chance to help a human being, including yourself, because often everything is affected. It's not one level, it's multi-leveled, because that's the way it works. And intent and energy that's like it's incredible. And this story, if you stick with me, if you have to go, I understand, but it's worth sticking around for if you stick around for it. Do you want to stay? 20 minutes. It's up to you. We can go if you want. But I think it's worth watching. This one is across our side of the pond. And it happened here in New Jersey. It happened in, I want to say the early 90s, mid 90s. And I don't know the psychic, never met her in person, but I've spoken to her via email several times. And I've seen her on these shows. She's quite the lady. I have nothing but respect for her. And she doesn't take any BS, So, okay, good. So a couple of you want to stay, that's great. Stick with it because you're going to like it. So anyway, she's a pistol. She's just my kind of gal. So anyhow, I'll let them tell the story, but it happened here in New Jersey. It's a humdinger, but it's a very good example of when the band gets together and has just everything clicks and you get that magical moment. This is it. So I thought you guys would enjoy it. Oh, shoot, I can't find it. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. It's right here. We'll play it for you. I love you guys. The honey's kicking in. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I feel really nice, and I'm really glad to be here with you. And I'm really glad to watch this with you. We're so privileged, I think. I'm excited when I get to show this stuff. It's so pretty. And it's true. Energy is just astounding. Hey, Bobby and Bernice. I just love y'all. Man, I love those old clips. Ooh. Haha, Crispy. Don't you love Crispy?
November 1982.
Love you too, baby.
Fear cloaks the serenity of a small town in New Jersey. Popular teenager Amy Hoffman has disappeared without a trace.
Terrible
the police
story.
Can't say if she's alive or dead, but psychic Nancy Weber knows there's been a murder and fears the
She's
killer
so
is on a
cool.
rampage.
He's killed before, he's killing again. He's going to kill more.
I gotta tell you, this is a little inside. Don't tell anybody. This is it might be rude, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Her email, 007 is in it. And I thought that was such a cheeky monkey because she's that good. But I just love that. I just love that about her. I thought I'd share it. But don't tell anybody. All right?
If she tells me something, I believe it to be gospel.
Can Nancy help catch the killer before his brutality is unleashed again? 3 people out for a pleasant afternoon stroll, or so it seems. A closer look, and it becomes apparent this is not a recreational time filler. These people are not so ordinary. The conversation underscores the seriousness of their purpose.
She's screaming for her life and begging mercy.
Right when she was first found, there was no evidence that would indicate a...
Bill Hughes is a police officer, Nancy Weber is a professional psychic, and Jimmy Moore is retired. He was detective captain at the Parsippany Police Department. More than 20 years ago, the trio came together and stood in this secluded location. What happened here would change their lives forever. November 23, 1982. Amy Hoffman, an 18-year-old senior high school student, leaves her part-time job at a Morris County shopping mall. In the parking lot, she says goodnight to her friend. It's approximately 9:35 p.m. 2 people see Amy as she walks across the back lot to where her car is parked. One, a fellow worker driving out of the parking lot. The other, her killer.
Well, her vehicle was found in the parking lot, not too far away from the store that she worked in. And the door was open on the car, and there was a witness. And she noticed a white male, in a green Chevrolet that was parked a couple spots away from where Amy's car was. And he was just sitting there in the car at that time.
It's Thanksgiving, 2 days since Amy Hoffman was last seen alive. Morris County, New Jersey comprises several small townships. Police departments from across the region become involved in the search for Amy.
It had a major impact on the community. Women were hesitant about going out on their own, especially at night.
20 miles away in Mount Olive, Nancy Weber, who runs her own psychic practice, gets a phone call from a woman.
She said, my daughter has a best friend who works at the Morris County Mall. And she's missing. She didn't come home. And that's when the vision popped up. The image I kept having was this naked body, multiple wounds all over. She was lying in water, raped. She had been terribly, terribly violated before she was murdered. And so I just went right into saying to her, I am sorry. I really can't discuss this with you. You call Amy's parents, or you call the police that are involved.
That same day, Amy Hoffman's body was found in a retention tank at the reservoir in Randolph.
There was a couple walking their dog through the woods, and it's an isolated area. It's like a lover's lane area. And they came across the body floating in the water. There was numerous slashes and stab wounds to her body. And some were post-mortem, meaning that after she had died, the assailant still continued to slash at her and cut her body. It was pretty gruesome.
Nancy's vision of the dead young woman was accurate. Bill Hughes, a detective with the Mount Olive Police Department, happened to drop by Nancy's house.
Most of the police officers in Mount Olive Township knew Nancy because she was just a friend of a lot of guys on the force, her and her family. And I stopped by Nancy's house just for a cup of coffee.
By the way, I read the newspaper account of Amy Hoffman. Why are they lying? She was raped. She wasn't not sexually abused. She was mutilated, not no wounds obvious.
The investigators at the time did not believe that sexual assault had occurred, but Nancy said that it had, that the girl had been sexually assaulted. There was no way of knowing because there was no physical evidence that you could see at the scene, according to the investigators, to indicate any type of sexual contact. What we found out later on was, yes, she indeed had been sexually assaulted by the suspect, and that was the result of forensics taken by the medical examiner's office.
I didn't say anything to Bill about wanting to be involved at all. It's one of the things I don't ever do. I wait to be asked. When it comes to this kind of work, it's very important, I believe, for all concerned, including the victim, to know that I am the appropriate person to participate. It's an ingredient. I'm one of the ingredients or not. So I don't ask to help.
Maybe to a lesser extent today, but at that time, psychics were certainly not taken seriously. They probably were looked at as people trying to make a name for themselves, people that would take advantage of the weak. I was a small player in this investigation. I'm on the periphery, so I really had no authority. I had to find somebody that was very open-minded, kind of like myself. You know, I'll try anything once, believe anything once until it's proven wrong.
Detective Bill Hughes has faith in Nancy's psychic powers, and she has a real concern that the killer will strike again.
He's killed before, he's killing again, he's going to kill more.
Wow. Okay, hold on. I'll fix it. Choo-choo. Choo-choo, Ted. All aboard. I'm not watching that commercial. And we're back.
2 days later, her mutilated body is discovered in a water retention tank. Police from all across the region are hunting down a brutal killer. On the same day Amy's body is discovered, psychic Nancy Weber has a vision of the crime scene. She knows that the young woman has been sexually assaulted and murdered even before police. Now she suspects the killer will strike again. She's right.
The second victim was a girl named Deidre O'Brien, who worked in a local restaurant and was heading home early in the morning. It was after midnight. She was forced off the road and abducted from her vehicle, and later brought to a rest stop on Route 80 in Warren Township, where she was murdered.
I got to stop it right there real quick, because the horrifying part of this is any one of us. This was totally random. And the scary part is this is reality, that any one of us at any time. I think back of do you know how many restaurants, how many bars, how many times I've drove home? He ran her off the road, and whatever happened after he pushed her off the road, jumped in the car, got her, I don't know. Knife point, gun point. Situational awareness. Could have been any one of us. I can't tell you how many times. Same thing, drove home from insert restaurant here. Bobby, I just got, I wanted to stop earlier, but I got to kind of reach out real quick for a second. I hope you listened to the beginning of this show, because it was completely unintentional. We're talking a little bit about wagging the dog, and I was putting a couple things there as veiled and shadowed as possible, because it's my job to look, no fear, be aware, watch the stuff going down, deal with what's going, you know what I mean? Because this is also happening daily. And the cool part, hey, Sarah, and the cool part, as horrific as all this is, it is kind of sort of like the Mr. Rogers psychic medium metaphysical way of looking at things, because you look for the good too. And these are absolute strangers with abilities reaching out and helping other strangers, the dead working with the living, and in this case, more strangers getting together, just doing the right thing and going up against a lot to do it. And that's inspirational, because we're all kind of in that boat one way or another. So this is also inspirational, and it's also to show how good a bad thing can turn out and be as close to getting justice, I guess you could say. If good people just get their light and put it together, they can do great things. And that's with abilities as well as everything else, as well as just knowledge and faith and whatever it may be. As long as it's light, right? In their own way, because that's what these ghosts are doing. And picking out people and saying, help me. They're not showing up to a bunch of different people. I don't believe. They're picking one person for whatever reason that has some abilities. That's going to do it. That's going to get it done. And I think there's spirit guides involved with that. I think there's, energy and like energies being drawn to each other as well. Frequencies, vibration, and the willingness to do something. Because how many times, even people here and myself have gotten messages and got a feeling, but we just, and something happened. Whoa. I've had many people talk about things right before 9/11 or something that big and that you could feel it coming. It gave new depth to something wicked this way comes. How deep and how dark that can be, because you can feel it. And it's more than one. It's collective people, but there was no way of communicating and getting all that together. And if so, what do? You go through this stuff. Now she's got chutzpah. She knows what she's doing. So this turned out a lot. Started out even better with her because these police officers were willing to work with her too.
We were all very upset because now we had 2 gruesome homicides
Horrible.
on our hands. And we had a feeling that the same individual was involved because the same type vehicle was seen leaving the scene of Deidre O'Brien's homicide.
A second woman dead in such a short time leaves little doubt that police are dealing with a serial killer. But this time, the killer leaves a calling card: tire prints. Detective Bill Hughes thinks it's crucial to get Nancy officially involved in the case, but he is just one of hundreds of police officers tracking down what they now suspect is a serial killer. He needs to get someone he can trust to hear her out.
I knew that Jimmy Moore is a seasoned veteran. Jimmy has well over 20 years on the police force at the time. He's a captain. He's in charge of the detectives in Parsippany. He's more directly involved in the case because Amy Hoffman is from Parsippany. So I knew that if I could talk to Jim, then I might be able to get them to use Nancy to do some investigative leads on the case or to give us some direction to go in the case.
I had never used a psychic, and I was a little skeptical. I really didn't believe too much into them. Is it possible? I mean, can somebody truly do this? I actually had flashbacks of being on the boardwalk and down at the Jersey Shore, and you see these signs, palm readings, and of course I don't believe in any of that. So I was a little skeptical, but I said, you know what? We have nothing really to go with. If there's a chance that it's going to solve the case, I'm willing to try.
When I opened the door to Bill at 6'5", standing next to this about 5'7" man who he introduces as Captain Jimmy Moore from Homicide, I thought, uh-oh, what now? And he simply asked me to repeat to Jimmy what I had told him about the newspaper account of Amy Hoffman and my belief that there was a discrepancy there.
I asked Nancy some questions and stuff like that, and pretty much wanted to get to know her as an individual. And I found out that she was just down-to-earth type of individual, and she didn't seem to be a person that exaggerates or puts anything on. And I was impressed by her personality. And I said, how do you do this? And she says, I just see it. And she says, I don't know why or how, but I just see things. And she says, all I can do is tell you what I see. And she says, I don't want you to tell me anything about the case, and I want you to give me any leads.
What we decided to do at that point was take a ride in my car. And what we were going to do is take Nancy, by the scenes of the abduction, and the scenes of the murder, and the scenes where their bodies were left.
When I was driving with Bill and Jimmy in the car the first day, when we went down a road, I could feel I was coming towards the end of her life. It was as if the energy of the road itself got darker and darker. Got more magnetically charged with an energy that felt more panicky, heightened anxiety.
The first place that we went to was the reservoir in Randolph. We took Nancy down there and parked the cars, and we let Nancy walk around. It was an eerie feeling. You know, it was a very isolated area, wooded area, no homes around. Very macabre. You could almost feel the horror that Amy would have gone through. Amy could have been dumped in any one of about 12 acres. And Nancy went right to the spot where Amy was left.
I felt almost as if Amy was waiting for me there on the ground. So I got down on the ground on my knees, and I could feel no separation between the memory of what Amy went through and myself at that point.
I was down to talk to my doctor about Rybelsus.
Ask your healthcare provider about Rybelsus today.
Good Lord, I can't get away from
to
him.
speak
Holy
words
mackerel.
I believed were the last words, where she was begging, please don't kill me. I believe she knew that that's what he was about by then. She had already been raped. She had already been badly cut. And I believe she understood that he was enjoying this. And she didn't know how to get through to him. She had no idea how to get through to this person who seemed bent on destroying her. For
This
me,
son
it
of
was
a
very
bitch.
important to stay with it because I'm looking for the tiniest bit of a clue, a shred of evidence that might stop him. Went back in the car and kept reviewing. Now I'm going over all the film. Again and again, like an editor, attempting to be as detailed as possible. Pop. He's from Polish descent. He grew up in Morristown. Pop. He was in Florida. He was in jail there for murder. And I'm telling Jimmy and Bill as I get it, in the car, driving. They let him out. Early parole? Pop. His name kept coming to me, the man who was with her. James. I don't know if she knew his name. I knew it. So when I got the last name beginning with a K and Kadababaich.
I felt that Nancy was seeing what we were looking for. She had this individual pegged, and she was trying as hard as she could to give us as much evidence that she could see to arrest him, because she kept telling me, Jim says, this guy is sick, and he's just going to keep killing until he's caught. And she was upset with that. She was very adamant about telling me that this was a sick individual and he's just going to keep on killing.
It wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't he stalked this particular person for weeks and had an obsession with her. He had an obsession with joy at causing harm. When I saw that, I knew he's not going to stop until somebody stops him. This man will not stop.
Son of a bitch.
With 2 brutal murders occurring within 10 days, every available police officer in Morris County is on the case. Most are following procedure, the routine that is police work. 2 are following a totally different line of inquiry. Detectives Jimmy Moore and Bill Hughes have teamed up with psychic Nancy Weber in their own private investigation. They've been able to get quite a bit of information from Nancy about the first murder. Now they want to know what she can tell them about the second.
After the Deidre
Good for
O'Brien
them,
homicide,
right? Good for them.
I picked up Nancy and we drove to the rest area where the crime had taken place.
She took us right to the spot where the suspect had parked with Deidre. She described the encounter there.
And I see this truck in my mind. And I see a trucker, and I see this woman coming out of a speeding car. She's naked. She's knifed. And I'm looking at the car, and I'm looking at her. It's the same car. It's James. I know it.
The only thing that stopped him from continuing with his attempt to sexually assault her was the fact that there was a truck parked in the rest area a little ahead of them.
Nancy felt that the assailant had just had enough and didn't want to be bothered with her anymore, so he stabbed her and threw her out of the car and then drove off. And that's when Deidre had enough strength to pick herself up and go to the truck to knock on the door, getting help from the truck driver.
The truck driver got on the CB radio and radioed for help, and troopers eventually got there, but unfortunately, Deidre passed away in the arms of the truck driver.
I was impressed with Nancy when I took her to the truck stop, because everything that she was telling me was exactly what had happened, as much as we knew from the evidence and from the truck driver's statement.
She's telling us stuff that there's no way Nancy could have known, because this is, you know, in the investigative files. This is not stuff that's being released to the press. And yet, Nancy knows what happened.
Over the next few days, Nancy keeps replaying the visions over in her head.
Every time I would go back to James, I would get another tiny little piece. He was at least about 5'10", slim, very narrow, thin, long nose, dark eyes. And I'd spend hours on it. I would be reviewing it. Kind of like 18-hour days of review editing.
True grit.
Then I'd go back some more, and I'd feel the car, his brother, gas station. Brother owns it, works it. That's where he got the car, from his brother at a gas station. They're local. They're Wharton, they're Morristown, they're local. They all know who he is. Everybody knows who he is. They'll know his last name. He was a local terror. Growing up even. The cops all know who he is. He's not an unfamiliar character. This guy was dangerous when he was in high school.
Nancy's coming up with all this stuff that she couldn't have possibly known about, and she's giving us all this good information.
Incredible.
And then a little bit of frustration sets in because you
better.
believe what she's saying, and now you're trying to think to yourself, how am I going to convince the bosses in Morris County to listen to what she has to say?
At this stage, the detectives want permission from the prosecutor to officially involve Nancy in the investigation, but before they can present their case, they are denied access to his office. The prosecutor is not interested.
How about that?
As Nancy and I started to walk through the door, a detective from the prosecutor's office stopped me, and who knew me personally.
Mind blown.
And he said, "Jim, what's she doing here?" I said, "Well, she's been with us and giving us information on the case." And he said, "Well, the prosecutor doesn't want her here. He doesn't want to get involved with her." I was upset with the prosecutor for not even hearing us out. I felt that he should have at least listened to what we had to say. And it bothered me. To this day, it bothers me why he did that.
Hell yeah.
The headlines were all over not only our state, but the nation and on all the news.
That's
that we
every
had a
bit
serial
Jersey,
killer.
too.
Nobody knew who it was. They couldn't figure it out.
That's what it looks
Nancy
like.
is also upset and frustrated. She decides to appeal to a higher authority.
Here it
She calls
comes.
some students who she trusts, and they form a psychic
You're
circle.
gonna love this so
Together
much.
they use psychic prayer to try and stop the killer in his tracks.
Went through everything. And when I was finished, I told them, join hands with me. So we went to the light, went to the Godhead, went to the apex, and through that asked that if it was in the spiritual path of all concerned, to bring back to James K. Itch the pain he has
All
given
that pain.
and the suffering he has caused.
Send it back.
Let him feel it now. Let
Boom.
him get it in such a manner he can no longer give it.
Intent.
And I
Send
simply
it back.
held on to that thought the rest of the night. It was my mantra. It was my chant.
Go,
it is
girl.
his time. Let him feel his own pain. He cannot give it out any longer. Let him feel his own pain. He cannot give it out any longer.
There it is.
over.
The power of divine intervention has been argued and disputed since time began. Can a New Jersey psychic's prayer really stop the killer in his
You bet a
tracks?
Jersey girl can do it.
In fact, there's been a dramatic break in the case overnight.
I get a call home, and then I was told that an individual was arrested in response to the Amy Hoffman, Deidre O'Brien murders. They responded to a home in Morristown where an individual had been stabbed. While they were at the scene, one of the officers noticed the green Chevrolet sitting in the driveway, and it matched the description of the vehicle we were looking for. So they called for the forensic team to come to the scene to check this vehicle out. As it turned out, they found the tire on the car matched the imprint that was found at Deidre O'Brien's abduction. And subsequently, the individual was arrested and charged with the 2 homicides. When I found out who the individual was and his background,
Send it right on back.
I couldn't believe how accurate Nancy's information was.
Now wait, it gets better.
So we have our guy under arrest, James Kodadich, and what we find out about James is very interesting. A lot of the stuff that Nancy had told us was right on the money. James Kodadich had a brother who was a mechanic, had lived pretty much his entire life in Morris County. James had moved to Florida, had been in prison in Florida, and that he'd murdered while he was in prison in Florida, stuff that Nancy had come up with. His last name was Kodadich, the K and the ITCH that Nancy had come up with.
Early in the morning, I get a call from Jimmy, and he goes, "Hey, Nancy, what did you do?" I said, "What do you mean, what did I do?" He said, "What did you do?" I said, "I had class last night." And I told them about it.
The power of
And
energy.
we said a prayer to finish it. Make this man have all the pain he gave to women. He said, "Well, James Kodadich," and as he said the words and the name, it was
Send
like,
it back.
boom, 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 lights go on. I went, "That's him."
All the information that she saw, that she gave us, was exactly the truth.
I think that a lot of people have to see for themselves. You know, there's going to be people that are going to watch this episode and they're going to see me and they're going to listen to me talk. They're going to listen to Jimmy Moore talk. They're going to listen to different people talking about their experiences with psychics, and they're just not going to buy it. And so be it. But if you're a police officer and you don't buy it, then you probably shouldn't be in the investigative side of anything. I says, because like I said before, you've got to keep an open mind. You've got to be willing to try anything. If you try it and you don't like it and it doesn't work out for you, so be it. Then don't try it again if you don't want to, but at least try it once.
There you go.
But there is still a mystery surrounding the event of James Kodadich's arrest. Police arrived at his house after he called them complaining he'd been stabbed. Could Nancy's prayer have anything to do with this?
The power
He
of
claimed
energy.
that a dark-haired woman ran him off the road and knifed him in the back. And at the time, my hair wasn't gray, and it was longish. And I thought, I wonder if he'd recognize me if he met me.
The power
I'd love it.
of energy.
I'd love him to know that, you know, you stand there with all the victims. And that victims have power, you fool. How could you do this?
It's up to you to decide whether
Damn Skippy,
she had anything
sister.
to do with it or not.
I love this woman.
On October 29th, 1984, James Kodadich became the first man sentenced to die under New Jersey's revised capital punishment statute. The sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment.
Not very
After his
far from
arrest,
me
it was
now.
determined that Kodadich had actually stabbed himself. He never explained why, although the self-inflicted wounds were not life-threatening, and apparently he never again spoke of the long-haired woman he claimed had attacked him. But perhaps he sees her now.
Perhaps he sees her now. I hope he does, you son of a bitch. How about that? Jersey don't play, right? How about that? Here's a kitty again. Just to make you smile after all that horror. But isn't that something? Energy, man. Energy. I can't say enough. That is a perfect example. Perfect. Wow. Wow. And Sir Cubworth, Murder Mystery is the name of the song. So, gatekeepers, what can I say? I mean, when you see something like that, you can't say energy isn't going to make a difference in your life, that you can't get together with other light um, workers, with other people with abilities in any shape or form. Intuition alone, the intent and the heart, that's where it starts. The rest grows. If you don't exercise it, you don't know what you have. You get with tribe, you get with like-minded people, you get with look what happens in this chat. So spread that out in your life, put that out there, use your energy that way. And I think you'll just draw more light to it, and it'll just get stronger and stronger, because that's proof, power proof, positive. I mean, I just don't even know how to express, this lady, dear that she is, and she's cheeky monkey, isn't she? She's got a set, and but she knows what she knows what she's talking about, and she teaches this, and she's calm, and she's got reverence, and she's got a no BS attitude, and she's of that ilk, and she's absolutely Jersey. She knows what she's going to do. She's going to handle it. And it's wonderful that the police officers got with her and were willing to fight for that. And they were turned away. They hit a wall. Couldn't take it further. So she did. And she got with her class. And they got together in agreement, in light, and sent that pain back to him. So much so that he was ranting and raving that some woman was in his back seat, whatever, stabbing him, ran him off the road. And it turned out he was stabbing himself. They got into his head. Send it back. Send it away. Can you imagine what we could accomplish if we all got together and pinpointed at each thing? Groups are doing it. People are doing it. Light workers are out there. Organized light workers. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the greatest weapon you have. As long as you do it in love and to stop evil. So I say, so be it. What say you? This is what can be done. I think it's amazing. There's two different ways of looking at it. What can happen if people get together and work together? Imagine what could be done. I think that's the whole thing we're supposed to learn. Working together, keeping the lights on, encouraging each other, celebrating each other's triumphs, and being there, in the potholes of life. Enjoy the journey. You have to celebrate the good times, make the bad times better. Take in the news, discern it, be your own detective, be aware of your surroundings, take care of you, take care of yours. Don't put up with stupid. Don't tolerate disrespect. Don't let people get peanut butter on your chocolate, but don't get your chocolate in their peanut butter. Be nice. So nice no longer works. Roadhouse rules now. We're not quite up to combat rules yet, but I think we're definitely into roadhouse rules. But gray man it as much as you can. Be aware. Can't let that light shine. And look at these fools. There's a lot of people, a lot of big countries, a lot of serious stuff, a lot of people running scared, and they're acting it. So be aware. Don't feed the feeders. No fear. We got this. We got each other. Keep the lights on. Thanks for being here tonight. Hope you got something out of this. I thought it was remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. And this happened not far from where I am right now. Not very long ago. Past 20 years. I dare say. And she's a very dear woman. And she does not take any crap. And she's done this and multiple other ones. I assure you. And people like this will never get the accolades and the awards and the love and understanding and the chance to teach others and inspire others. And I don't know. Can you imagine being one of these people that do that and going through your own personal crossing over, and you get to meet all those people, even if it's like a lineup at lineup at a big party or a wedding or a gathering where the people line up and go down and shake hands down the line. Would it be like that? Thanks for helping me cross over. I appreciate thanks for the leg up or leg over. Even if it's just that, wouldn't that be enough knowing that you helped? And until we start looking at this, it's all human nature. It's all nature. That's why we get recharged when we go into nature, because it's all connected and it goes out. And man, when you know that the light beats the dark, you can skate through this and send out hope to the fools. Don't suffer them. You know what I mean? You can pray for them, but you ain't got to put up with their bullshit. There you go. Energy is awesome. Love is the strongest part of that. And it never dies. But watch out for the boogers because they're out there. All right? I'm steady. Ted. I'm going to bed. How about you? Are you just getting up? I bet you're just waking up or haven't been asleep. Ted's something. Watch out. He's like he's our chat ninja. He knows what's going on. And if you got a blue wrench and you're new to that, just welcome aboard. Thank you to all the mods. Thank you, gatekeepers. Thank you for the super chats and the donations, the comments, and please hit the like on the way out. And got to leave you with something nice. So I'll play the really nice water one again. It's really nice and it's short and it ought to take us out. Thank you for being here tonight. I hope Steve will be with us tomorrow. But as you know, he's got some big life changes going on and boxes. And, so we'll be here either way. We've always got some nice ghost stories to tell or something, a mystery or just to chat. But I truly mean it when I say no fear. Laugh at their craziness and their and throw light at their evil and don't fall for their bullshit. Psyops. Send it back to them. Send back the pain that they caused. Send it back at them and don't feed them. I love you all. Good night, everybody. Hope to see you tomorrow. Hit the like on the way out, and thank you for the support and the love and for being the coolest chat out there on the inner tubes. I love you, babies. Good night.